Going on, guys? Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the first 11 chapters of Genesis. Today we're going to move on to the next, I think just 5 today. 47 minutes is a long time, so we're going to cut it back. Maybe we can get it under 20 minutes. How's that sound? All right, let's roll. Genesis 11, the Tower of Babel. At one time, all the people of the world spoke the same language and they used the same words. As the people migrated to the east, they found a plain in the land of Babylonia and they settled there. They began saying to each other, "Let's make bricks and harden them with fire." In this region, bricks were used instead of stone, and tar was used for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let's build a great city for ourselves with a tower that reaches into the sky." Oops, hold on. We're going to do this as a prayer. "This will make us famous and keep us from being scattered all over the world." But the Lord came down to look at the city and the towers. Okay, it's about to get a little confusing. I read ahead a little bit here. But the Lord came down to look at the city and the tower the people were building. "Look," he said, "the people are united, and they all speak the same language. After this, nothing they set out to do will be impossible for them. Come, let's go down and confuse the people with different languages. Then they won't be able to understand each other." Seriously, am I missing something? Come, let's go down and confuse the people with different languages, then they won't be able to understand each other. In that way, the Lord scattered them all over the world, and they stopped building the city. That is why the city was called Babel, because it was where the Lord confused the people with different languages. In this way, he scattered them all over the world. Okay. Anyway, again, this is not a Bible study. This is a Bible reaction. So, okay, the line of descent from Shem to Abram. Awesome. I was hoping we'd have more of this. This is the account of Shem's family. 2 years after the great flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Arphaxad. After the birth of Arphaxad, Shem lived another 500 years, and he had other sons and daughters. When Arphaxad was 35 years old, he became the father of Shelah. After Shelah, he lived another 403 years, had more kids. When Shelah was 30 years old, he became the father of Eber. After Eber, Shelah lived another 403 years and had more kids. When Eber was 34, he became the father of Peleg. After Peleg, he lived another 430 years and he had more kids. When Peleg was 30, he became the father of Reu. After the birth of Reu, Peleg lived another 209 years and he had sons and daughters. When Reu was 32, he became the father of Serug. After the birth of Serug, Reu lived another 207 years and had other sons and daughters. So I'm seeing the ages are getting a little bit closer to ours here. When Serug was 30 years old, he became the father of Nahor. After the birth of Nahor, Serug lived another 200 years and had other sons and daughters. When Nahor was 29 years old, he became the father of Terah. After the birth of Terah, Nahor lived another 119 years and had more kids. After Terah was 70 years old, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Oh, good. The family of Terah. This is the account of Terah's family. Terah was the father of Abram, Nahor, Haran, and Haran was the father of Lot. I know Lot. But Haran died in Ur of the Chaldeans, the land of his birth, while his father Terah was still living. Meanwhile, Abram and Nahor both married. The name of Abram's wife is Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah. Milcah and her sister Iscah were daughters of Nahor's brother Haran. But Sarai was unable to become pregnant and had no children. One day, Terah took his son Abram, his daughter-in-law Sarah, this is his son Abram's wife, and his grandson Lot, his son Haran's child, and he moved away from Ur of the Chaldeans. He was headed for the land of Canaan, but they stopped at Haran and settled there. Terah lived for 205 years and died while still in Haran. Genesis 12. A little sippy sip. All right, the call of Abram. The Lord had said to Abram, "Leave your native country, your relatives, and your father's family, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who treat you with contempt. All the families on earth will be a blessing through you." So Abram departed as the Lord had instructed, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all of his wealth, his livestock, and all the people that he had taken into his household at Haran. He headed for the land of Canaan. When they arrived in Canaan, Abram traveled through the land as far as Shechem. There he set up camp beside the oak of Moreh. At that time, the area was inhabited by Canaanites. The Lord appeared to Abram and said, "I will give this land to your descendants." I have a theory of where this is going. Was this 3,000 years ago? And Abram built an altar there and dedicated it to the Lord who had appeared to him. After that, Abram traveled south and set up camp in the hill country where Bethel to the west, with Bethel to the west and Ai to the east. There he built another altar and dedicated it to the Lord, and he worshipped the Lord. Then Abram continued traveling south by stages toward Negev. Abraham and Sarai in Egypt. At the time, a severe famine struck the land of Canaan, forcing Abram to go down to Egypt, where he lived as a foreigner. As he was approaching the border of Egypt, Abram said to his wife Sarai, which we know this already, we've iterated this a lot. Look, you're a very beautiful woman. Look, you're a very beautiful woman. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, "This is his wife. Let's kill him, and then we can have her." My man knows game. So please tell them you are my sister. Then they will spare my life and treat me well because of their interest in you. This guy's a genius. Sure enough, when Abram arrived in Egypt, everyone noticed Sarai's beauty. When the palace officials saw her, they sang praises to Pharaoh, their king, and Sarai was taken into his palace. Then Pharaoh gave Abram many gifts because of her: sheep, goats, cattle, male and female, donkeys, male and female, servants, and camels. But the Lord sent terrible plagues upon Pharaoh and his household because of Sarai, who was Abram's wife, which we know this. So Pharaoh summoned Abram and accused him sharply. "What have you done to me?" he demanded. Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister and allow me to take her as my wife? Now then, here is your wife. Take her and get the frick out of here. Pharaoh ordered some of his men to escort them, and he sent Abram out of the country along with his wife and all his possessions. What? Okay. I think just to recap, he lied. The Pharaoh was like, "Yo, what was that about?" God was mad. We don't need to recap. We get it. Genesis 13. Abram and Lot separate. So Abram left Egypt and traveled north to Negev along with his wife. Oh, they didn't say her name? Who's his wife? And Lot, all that they owned. Abram was very rich with livestock, silver, and gold. From the Negev, they continued traveling by stages towards Bethel. They pitched their tents between Bethel and Ai, where they had camped before. This was the same place where Abram had built the altar and where he worshipped the Lord again. Lot, who was traveling with Abram, had also become very wealthy with flocks of sheep and goats, herds of cattle, and many tents. But the land could not support both Abram and Lot with all their flocks and herds living so close together. So disputes broke out between the herdsmen of Abram and Lot. At the time, Canaanites and Perizzites were also living in the land. Finally, Abram said to Lot, "Let's not allow this conflict to come between our herdsmen. After all, we are close relatives. The whole countryside is open to you. Take your choice of any section you want, and we will separate. If you want the land to the left, then I'll take the land to the right. If you prefer the land to the right, I'll take the land to the left." Lot took a long look at the fertile plains of the Jordan Valley in the direction of Zoar. The whole area was well watered everywhere, like the garden of the Lord or the beautiful land of Egypt. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay. Lot chose for himself the whole Jordan Valley to the east of them, where he went there with his flocks and servants, and parted his company with his uncle Abram. So Abram settled in the land of Canaan, and Lot moved his tents to a place near Sodom. Oh, I see. So that's why they mentioned the Sodom and Gomorrah thing. Okay. But the people of the area were extremely wicked. Oh yeah, Lot. That's where I knew Lot from. Lot is from Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay. Lot moved his tents to a place near Sodom, which is, we all know, a bad idea, and settled among the cities of the plain. But the people of this area were extremely wicked, and they constantly sinned against the Lord. After Lot had gone, the Lord said to Abram, "Look as far as you can see in every direction, north and south and east and west. I am giving you all this land, as far as you can see, to you and your descendants as a permanent possession." This was 3,000 years ago. This has got to be it. "And I will give you so many descendants that like the dust of the earth they cannot be counted. Go and walk through the land in every direction, for I am giving it to you." So Abram moved his camp to Hebron and settled near the oak grove belonging to Mamre. There he built another altar to the Lord. I think this is Israel. What do you think, DJ? Genesis 14. Abram rescues Lot. About this time, war broke out in the region. King Armaphel of Babylonia, King Arioch of Elasar, King Kedorlaomer of Elam, King Tidal of Goim, fought against King Bera of Sodom, King Bersha of Gomorrah, King Shinab of Admah, King Shimber of Zobeam, and the king of Bela, also called Zoar. The second group of kings joined forces in Sidon Valley, that is, the valley of the Dead Sea. For 12 years they had been subject to King Kedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they rebelled against him. 1 year later, Kedorlaomer and his allies arrived and defeated the Raphites as Astaroth Corneum, the Zuzites at Ham, the Emites at Sheva Kariaham, and the Horites at Mount Seir. I'm not even going to really try. But as far as El Paran, at the edge of the wilderness, they turned back and came back to En Mishpat, now called Kadesh, and conquered all the territory of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites living in the Hazazon Tamar. Then the rebel kings of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Bela prepared to fight for battle. They prepared for battle in the valley of the Dead Sea. They fought against King Kedorlaomer of Elam, King Tidal of Goim, King Emmer, blah, 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 blah. It was 4 kings against 5. As it happened, the valley of the Dead Sea was filled with tar pits. And as the army of kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some fell into these tar pits, while the rest escaped into the mountains. The victorious invaders then plundered Sodom and Gomorrah and headed for home, taking with them all the spoils of war and food supplies. They also captured Lot, Abram's nephew, who lived in Sodom, and carried off everything he owned. But one of Lot's men escaped and reported everything to Abram in Hebrew. I've never heard of this story. Who was living near the oak grove belonging to Mimmer and the Amorite, Mimmer and his relatives, Eshol, Aner, blah, blah, blah. When Abram heard that his nephew Lot had been captured, he mobilized the 318 men, trained men, who had been born into his household. Then he pursued Kedorlaomer's army until he caught up with them at Dan. There he divided his men and attacked during the night. His army fled, but Abram chased them as far as Hubba, north of Damascus. I feel like we need a map. Abram recovered all the goods that had been taken, and he brought them back to his nephew Lot, all of his people, and their blah, 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 yeah, all of his stuff. All right, Melchizedek blesses Abram. Now, Melchizedek's like a big name. After Abram returned from his victory over Kay and all his allies, the king of Sodom went out to meet him in the valley of Sheva. And Melchizedek, the king of Salem and priest of God Most High, brought Abram some bread and wine. Melchizedek blessed Abram with this blessing. Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth. And blessed be God Most High, who has defeated your enemies for you. Then Abram gave Melchizedek 1/10 of all the goods he had recovered. This sounds like tithing. Sounds like where tithing comes from. It's interesting. Maybe not. I'm jumping ahead of myself here. The king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give back my people who were captured, but you may keep for yourself all the goods you have recovered." Abram replied to the king of Sodom, "I solemnly swear to the Lord God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will not take as much as a single thread or sandal thong from what belongs to you. Otherwise you might say, I am the one who made Abram rich. I will only accept what my young warriors have already eaten, and I request that you give fair share of the goods to my allies, Anor, Ishkur, and Mamre." All right, Genesis 15. The Lord's covenant promise to Abram. Sometime later, the Lord spoke to Abram in a vision and said to him, "Do not be afraid, Abram, for I will protect you, and your reward will be great." But Abram replied, "O sovereign Lord, what good are all your blessings when I don't even have a son? Since you have given me no children, Eliezer of Damascus, a servant in my household, will inherit all of my wealth. You have given me no descendants of my own, so one of my servants will have to be my heir." That feels like a bummer. The Lord said to him, "No, your servant will not be your heir, for you will have a son of your own who will be your heir." Then the Lord took Abram outside and said to him, "Look up into the sky and count the stars if you can. That's how many descendants you will have." And Abram believed the Lord, and the Lord counted him as righteous because of his faith. So the Lord counted him as righteous because of his faith. Then the Lord told him, "I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land as your possession." But Abram replied, "O sovereign Lord, how can I be sure that I will actually possess it?" The Lord told him, "Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon." So Abram presented all of these to him and killed them. Then he cut each animal down in the middle and laid the half side by side. He did not, however, cut the birds in half. The random bits of context really throw me off. Some vultures swooped down to eat the carcasses, but Abram chased them away. As the sun was going down, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and terrifying darkness came down over him. Then the Lord said to Abram, "You can be sure that your descendants will be strangers in a foreign land, where they will be oppressed as slaves for 400 years. but I will punish the nation that enslaves them, and in the end they will come away with great wealth. As for you, you will die in peace and be buried at a ripe old age. Excuse me. It's got to be nice hearing that from God. After 4 generations, your descendants will return here to this land, for the sins of the Amorites do not yet warrant their destruction. After the sun went down and darkness fell, Abram saw a smoking firepot and a flaming torch pass between the halves of the carcasses. So the Lord made a covenant with Abraham that day and said, I have given this land to your descendants, all the way from the border of Egypt to the great Euphrates River, the land now occupied by the Kenites, Kenizzites, and Kadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, Raphaites, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites. So I think a lot of the confusion. This is the end, by the way. We're gonna stop here. We'll finish on Genesis. We'll start with Genesis 16 tomorrow. What I'm noticing here, whilst trying to consume this incredibly complex book, a lot of the names and stuff are like throwing me off. There's a story here, but for some reason they're just like naming everybody. I'm sure there's a reason for that, but I have a feeling if you just stop I don't know. This was fun. I appreciate you guys for reading along with me, and yeah, I will see you tomorrow. DJ's having a good time over here, rubbing his face off.